We learned of a foiled Election Day terror plot after a man planned to kill Americans in the name of ISIS. The Justice Department announced charges against the Afghan citizen residing in Oklahoma City. And that's just one of the threats that is known, with millions across the country expected to go out and vote on November 5th. And it's threats both foreign and domestic that the nation's election workers are now trying to guard against. Tonight, we introduce you to some of those who are dedicated to ensuring the integrity of the voting process. The first in a month-long series called Protecting Your Vote. We start with our senior national correspondent, Steve Osunsami, and his look at how election officials are protecting themselves and the vote.
I can remember when this red light here at the old courthouse was the only red light in the county. And now everything's changed. We've grown so much.
These are strange times for this country's election workers, who are just everyday people like Deidre Holden, with the voice full of sweet Georgia tea.
We are headed over to our first co-worker training for the November election.
For the last 17 years, she's directed elections in Paulding County, Georgia, a suburb northwest of Atlanta.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. You are the holder and the keeper of our democracy, and that is a very precious thing that we never need to take for granted. So I'm going to ask my election cheer squad to come to the stage. Y'all need pom-poms. Everybody needs pom-poms, signs. I want enthusiasm. I want y'all to act like you're glad to be here. I want you to act like you're proud to be an American. Go. We're in elections, couldn't be prouder. If you can't hear us, we'll yell a little louder. We're in elections, couldn't be prouder. If you can't hear us, we'll yell a little louder.
This feels more like a pep rally, reminding her poll workers that democracy is in their hands and that it's something to celebrate. But for the first time ever,
I demand that I vote. Give me my ID, and I want to vote now.
they're role-playing a month before November 5th.
I'm going to need to call my husband.
They've been training for the worst. Screaming voters,
Can I vote now?
deadly packages, and active shooters.
Most important thing is to get those voters out and get them to safety, or put them in a room, get in the room, barricade the door, and fight for your life if you have to. And I never thought I'd ever have to say those words. I'm sorry.
Nothing to be sorry for. This is not the way it's supposed to be.
No, it is not.
Even though this is still a county where the red team always wins, she says some people here started threatening her life and scaring her staff with frightening emails after Joe Biden won the statewide vote in 2020.
If you can read me some of this.
And I won't be explicit.
Of course,
because
yeah.
that's not who I am.
Yeah.
You know, when you start reading it, the first thing is the election is rigged. We're all complicit. One of the things that always stands out to me in this email is when you get to the part here that says, we'll make the Boston bombings look like child's play at the poll sites in this county. You just effing wait.
And it was sent to you specifically?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Our marshal said, I want all of your employees to park up against the building, because if someone comes and sets off a bomb in a car, that will soften the blow.
The cars will be a shield.
Yes. People have not gotten over 2020, and it has spilled over into 2024. And I have prepared my staff. I said 2020 was nothing compared to what we're about to go through.
They had to put up new cameras and keep a bag of Narcan near the mailbox for absentee ballots in case someone tries to hurt her people with an envelope of deadly drugs.
Do you have a panic button in this office?
I do. I'm looking at it right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I never had that.
You had escorts, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yeah. Escorts
And,
home from the office?
My husband was with me.
Yeah.
We just celebrated 38 years of marriage, and he never misses a day of work. And when I got up at 3:30 election morning, he gets up and he starts getting ready, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I'm going with you.
Yeah, he's not leaving you alone today.
Yeah.
What I did know, that
Okay.
That whatever she went through, I was going to be there with her. And that she wasn't going to go through it alone. And nobody was going to get to do anything without going through me. And what I could do, I don't know, but I was going to be there. So that's what we done. She loves this so much. I would support her if I had to come to work with her every day.
Here I am. I love you so much.
Love you.
And that was when it became very real to me that elections are not what they used to be.
They all feel for what happened to 2 Georgia election workers in the city who were terrorized by a fire of lies, wrongly accused of stuffing ballots on camera. Somehow people who were watching this live video of the 2 women counting votes are claiming that they were seeing things that weren't real.
I've always told my girls in this office, I call them my girls, they're like my children. It's my job to protect them. And I'm gonna fight with everything I have. And I don't ever want it to come to that. But I fear that that's what it's coming to.
It's a tough time to work elections across America. The U.S. Justice Department says it's tracking hostile threats to election officials and other public servants every day. In September, and for the second time this year, someone mailed mysterious powders to election officials in 22 states. The senders would often call themselves the United States Traitor Elimination Army. One of those packages was mailed to this man, arguably the most famous state election official in America.
I hope that all my fellow Georgians understand that the people working at the polls, those poll workers, they're your neighbors. They're good people, just like you.
Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says the threats haven't stopped since he refused demands from the former president to break the law and change election results when Trump lost the state.
I want voters to understand in Georgia that we're going to have an accurate election. I also understand that half the people aren't going to like the results.
This year, he says he needs to send Narcan to protect poll workers at every election location in Georgia.
We're threat assessing every day.
Your own personal security, how has that been?
Well, many of us had death threats.
Okay.
And that's one of those things that's highly unfortunate. And one of the things that we've worked so hard on for the last 4 years is if voters had concern about certain aspects of the voting system, we wanted to shore that up with good policy.
After he refused to rig the election, the former president's supporters in the State House removed him from the state election board and put in 3 people who Donald Trump has famously called his pit bulls.
3 people are all pit bulls fighting for honesty, transparency, and victory.
They're now trying to change some of the rules a month before the November election. For example, requiring poll workers to hand count ballots that the machines have already totaled. Raffensperger says this will only promise delays on election night and says it's too late to do all this now.
We've worked for 4 years to get you quick results. All of a sudden you added this additional complication, and a tremendous burden on these folks that are really public service. I'm doing my job, our folks are doing our job, counties are doing their job. So I would tell them, the state election board, do your job.
It's very clear you wish they would do better, in your opinion.
We do our job.
I'm called to be a public servant. I love my people, I love my voters, and it's what I want to do. And I promise you, there is no thought that ever goes through my mind of not counting a vote or cheating. I wouldn't know how to throw an election if you paid me to.
In the suburbs, Deidre Holden says she's ready. Early voting starts in less than 2 weeks. And she says she's praying that her staff and her voters stay safe.
I think every American needs to know that we are the United States of America, and that if we don't unite, it doesn't matter. We need to bring back the love everyone. It's not about the politics.